So what I want to do is communicate the soul of who we are and what makes us special. And the best way I thought of doing that is through what we call the ValueLabs stack. If you think of the ValueLabs stack, we would like to offer that as an option for you today as you think about partnering. So firstly, there are 3 layers to the stack and then components of each layer. And each layer builds on the previous layer. But where my heart really is the foundational layer of the values. It's in our name. On top of that, we built our business model. So if you take out the values, we don't have a business. But in these days of disruption, without being innovative as a partner, we would not be relevant. What I think is the most foundational aspect of who we are, why we're here, it all revolves around doing the right thing. Like I said, I'm an accidental entrepreneur. I didn't even know that I would start a business like this. My mother used to run a school back in 95, 96. She came up to me and said, look, we need to do something special about education. I sat down, thought about it, and we constructed a really good program for all the kids. It was about learning through exploration, discovery, and adventure. And we built this really nice program, a great infrastructure. And it was all from the heart. And I'm going to talk a bit about what happens when you do stuff only from the heart. We didn't really think through what the consequences of putting together such a good program would be. When we came down and looked at what it would cost, we found that at least 20 or 30% of the kids would not be able to afford it. So at the spur of the moment, we just made a decision that we would make that available free of charge. And we found that after hours, after school hours, all the infrastructure was available. So we started a bunch of professional courses. So that started to go, and then the next thing to do was the kids were starting to graduate from these professional courses. And then if you had to do the right thing by the kids, you had to get them to be placed. So I started calling a bunch of my friends in the US. One of the guys turned around and said, look, we've got a bunch of problems. Why don't I just send the work over to you? So that was our first project. I briefly mentioned this whole head, heart, and hand thing. This is something that's resonated very well with most of our clients and almost everyone within the company. We think of the world through this lens. Most often, people just apply their head, right? They think something through and they stop, they don't feel enough for it, nor do they act it out. So it's either you're just thinking it through or feeling for it or just acting it out. I think most of us are in this mold where we really think it through and we act it out. And we don't feel enough for the cause. We don't feel enough for the impact it's going to make on our clients, on our colleagues, on society. When we focus on doing the right thing and using the head, heart, and hand, we end up doing everything perfectly. We're very big on our core values of plus, is what we call it. Doing things perfectly, loving what we do. So if you really look at the planet itself, I think life itself is sustained by the emotion of love. And we think about love on 3 different dimensions. We think about loving what we do, loving the people we're with, that is within our own employee base, and loving our clients. I don't believe you can ever do perfect work if you don't love what you do. I don't believe there can be perfect teamwork if you're not loving the people you're with. And in order to do all of this, you need to have a lot of strength, and we call it the character strength. And it's like super important that we speak the truth at all times. We are absolutely living by these core foundational values. Coming to the business model, I've always maintained that we're in the business of building trust. It's a very simple and honest way of looking at what we do. We think about trust not just with clients, but with employees. Most of our clients are with us because of the employees that we have on their teams, and we try to maintain them for very long periods of time. Whereas where we are at and what we practice on the basis of the building of trust is the business that we think we're in and the foundational values, we call it the one company model. It's all about values, shared goals, and shared outcomes. I want to spend a few minutes on what we call the company as a platform. How do we ensure that this business model of the one company gets installed? How do we ensure that the trust aspect with our employees and our clients gets institutionalized? So we think of the company as a platform. It's a platform that's powered mainly by inspirations. The first thing we look for is, are we inspiring everyone on the platform, every one of our employees, every one of our clients who's engaged with us? A metric that I personally have with my senior team around what I call the purity of the revenue stream. Let me give you an example. If any of our team members told an untruth in the process of some delivery, either in winning a relationship or in executing on some existing work, if he told an untruth, then that revenue stream that we would have earned from them would have gotten impure. And lastly, when you do all this successfully, I think you get to a point where really it's about the triumph of the human spirit. When I think of innovation and I think of our company and our evolution over the last 20 years, so I think of ourselves now as a VC firm. And we are looking for opportunities within our entire client base. So increasingly we are finding that it's a case of a discovery, a joint discovery between the client and us to figure out what the problem statement is. And I just want to leave you with this one experience of mine, which is unselfishness is more paying. It's just that man doesn't have the patience to practice it. And a bigger part is that there's truly another way to build a business, and just powered only by values.